The Ireland and Argentina teams are out. I'm going to go through the selections. I'm going to pick a 23-man squad and just generally preview this game, which I think should be an absolute banger of a test match. I mean, yes, I said that a week ago when looking ahead to Ireland against New Zealand. And that was really, really intense as a match, but it lacked a little bit of quality, didn't it? Particularly from Ireland, who made a lot of uncharacteristic, unforced errors in that match, lacked a lot of accuracy. But they've had a week to shake that off. And Argentina are coming to town, and they are South American playboys. They are absolute ballers. So let's get into it. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave your thoughts down below. These two teams, they've played together 19 times in the past. 13 wins for Ireland out of that. All 10 games in Ireland have gone to the home team. And the last time they played this match, it was 53 points to 7 to Ireland. It was an absolute beatdown. I mean, death, taxes, and Ireland being at their very best in between World Cups. This was in 2021. And on that day, Ireland, well, they had Joey Carberry fly half and Ross Byrne on the bench. The two people that I imagine back then, Ireland fans were thinking, these are the guys that are going to take the mantle on from Johnny Sexton when he retires. But when you look at the Ireland team for the game on Friday night, neither of those players are involved. And maybe the ultimate heir for Johnny Sexton is going to get his debut off the bench. Sam Prendergast is in the 23, in for Kieran Frawley, the most eye-catching selection in this Andy Farrell team, which shows 4 changes on the bench, just 1 change to the starting 15, and that is Bundy Aki dropping out and Robbie Henshaw coming in. I would love to know, and I'd love to ask Andy Farrell, I mean, has he answered this question? Do you know? Are his selections pre-planned? So was he always going to have Sam Prendergast on the bench? Or is this in response to what happened last week? If it's the latter, which probably it is, and would be fair as well, it just goes to show the fickle and cruel nature of elite sport, because think about Kieran Frawley's 2024 in May, Champions Cup final, so close with a drop kick at the death, which would have won the Champions Cup for Leinster. Heartbreak. But then July, a shot at redemption in the world champion's backyard. He nails a drop kick, hero. And he's been playing really well at the start of the season, such that people were thinking he could well become Ireland's first choice fly half, even above Jack Crowley. Against New Zealand last week, though, he has an absolute stinker by his very high standards, and he's out of the 23-man squad. Now, I think Frawley will be back. He may even end up starting against Fiji next week, but I'm excited to see Sam Prendergast. I do think that this is the time for Northern Hemisphere teams to introduce some new blood into their team. I'm not saying make wholesale changes, but just elevate 1 or 2 players into a matchday 23, because the Six Nations is the Six Nations and you go full bore in that competition. The November test feels like the right time. And so I'm delighted to see Sam Prendergast there. And with that in mind, Thomas Clarkson, very significant moment for him, should make his debut on Friday night, tight head prop at Leinster, 24 years of age. And with Tyg Furlong injured and with Tom O'Toole going out injured after last week's game, he has an opportunity. Argentina, they're used to scrummaging against South Africa and New Zealand. So it's going to be a stern test. But Ireland's succession plan at prop needs a bit of work. And this could be a big moment for Clarkson being in the squad. So excited to see that. Ian Henderson didn't have his best day last week against New Zealand. Gave up some penalties, made some errors. Ryan Baird will be itching to get going. And Craig Casey comes in for Conor Murray. I think that might just be because the game's going to be a little bit looser than the game against New Zealand last week, and that would suit Casey. Peter Amani might feel a bit lucky to still be in the 23-man squad. He's got a chance at making amends for what wasn't a great impact from the bench. And there's guys like Cormac Izachukwu and Cian Prendergast and Nick Timoney that will feel hard done by not having a chance. But, you know, there's more games this November that they'll have a chance. As for that, that's all on the bench so far. As for the starting team, exactly the same pack as from last week. In the back line, 1 change. And that's Bundy Aki out, Robbie Henshaw in. Now, Bundy Aki wasn't bad last week. He wasn't great either. And I would say that the Irish attack just stuttered a bit. It didn't. There was a lot of individual errors, but it just didn't feel. It just didn't feel as together as it has done. I talked about how Ireland were regarded as the best attack in world rugby for a while back there, like 2021, for example. Just the shapes they were running with, the angles. Every time someone had the ball, they had 4 different options of who to give the ball to, and it was almost impossible to defend the out the back or the flat pass. There wasn't as much of that from Ireland. And I know the conditions didn't help, and when you cough up the ball, but as New Zealand ended up with 60% possession because of the amount of errors that Ireland make. I expect them to address that, and I wonder if Robbie Henshaw coming into the midfield is part of that. Because the one thing you get with Robbie Henshaw coming in is cohesion, because he plays week in, week out, trains all the time with Gary Ringrose. They've played together a lot at international level. I mean, but so's Bundy Aki with Gary Ringrose, or Bundy Aki with Robbie Henshaw. But let's see how it goes. You've got 5 Leinstermen in that back line, 2 more on the bench that are backs as well. So that could help reignite Ireland's attack, which did stutter last week. And when you look at, well, that was also the combination that was there in Durban when they did go to the backyard of the world champions and win. And when you look at that, it's also the same back 5 of the scrum that was picked by Andy Farrell on that day. He's persisted with the same pack. Tadhg on the flank. James Ryan, who I think has been really good, but in the second row. In fact, the only player that isn't there from the team that beat South Africa in South Africa is Tadhg Furlong at tight head prop. Other than that, it's as you were. So, yeah, interesting. And a big one. You sort of, just looking on the bench, Casey Prendergast has a very 2027 feel about it, doesn't it? Or maybe post 2027 feel about it. We will see. As for Argentina, the team they're playing up against, there are some changes there. Matera comes into the pack and Santi Carreras comes in on the bench. A possible debut for Picardo. Now, I would say 3 of Argentina's best players, maybe their 3 best players, maybe certainly 3 of their 4 or 5 best players are not involved. No Marcos Kremer, no Santiago Chocobares, and no Mateo Carreras. That's big. That's big. Having never won in Ireland before, you feel like they need to be at full strength. That said, this year, they have beaten Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand. But when I look back at those performances, Chocobares and Carreras are massive. So they're big losses. This has been the year of scalps for Argentina. Never before have they beaten Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand in the same rugby championship. They also battered Italy last week and looked really good. And from that team last week, it's the same front row. Excuse me. It's Petty in for Molina in the second row, and Pablo Matera comes in the back row. That's a boost. Big boost. Same halfback partnership. And you have to say, Thomas Albanese was outstanding last week. If any other week, he would have been like player of the week, but it just so happened he was a brilliant fly half in a week when Caleb Muntz for Fiji was amazing. Marcus Smith was great for England. DMAC was brilliant for New Zealand. So there was a lot of good fly half performances last week, but Albanese was great. Maroney in for Orlando. Neither of them are Chocobares. Lucio Cinti continues at outside centre. And the same back 3, and they are absolute ballers. 2 7 superstars turned 15 stars now. Delgi and Iskro have got wheels. And Juan Cruz Mali is pretty rapid as well. So even though they've got no Mateo Carreras, they're doing all right in the back 3. As for a combined team, so all 23 Irishmen, all 23 Argentinians, this feels a little bit harsh on Argentina. But tell me if you disagree. I would only pick 3 Argentinians ahead of their opposite man. And I had to kind of move Tadhg Beirne into second row in order to accommodate Pablo Matera, because I'm not picking Matera, and I'm not picking Tadhg Beirne. So I've sacked off James Ryan for this purpose, and I've got them both in. So Argentina will bring a physical challenge. Backline, man for man, I think they're better. I think they're better. Whether that actually translates onto the scoreboard, we have to wait and see. Because the thing about Argentina is they are better than the sum of their parts. When they're on, there's just an energy and I don't know, they're one of those teams where they might play, they'll just try things and everything works. And when they're on that kind of form, all of this goes completely out the window. Just sit back and enjoy. Equally, it could not quite go to plan and they'll get rinsed and they'll get hosed. So that's why this exercise, probably when Argentina are involved, is less useful than against any other team. 9 to 15, I pick every single Irishman over their Argentinian opposite number, just head for head, man for man. But as a collective, that Argentinian backline are dynamite and they can ignite and just do the most wonderful things. And I hope we see it on Friday night. It should make for a great game if they can. Let me know what you think about that. Am I being a bit too harsh on Argentina? And if so, which players would you have in a combined team? Or actually, is that just the way it is? Man for man, Ireland have got the edge. But as a collective, that's what it all comes down to. That's why rugby is such a brilliant sport, right? Your thoughts in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. See you on the next video.